Welcome back to the channel, where we uncover the most fascinating and unexpected treasures hidden in plain sight. And today we have an absolutely mind-blowing story for you that proves once again that sometimes, the most ordinary-looking objects can be worth an extraordinary fortune. So buckle up because we're diving deep into the captivating world of rare coins, and in particular, a jaw-dropping example of a 1-cent coin. Yes, you've heard that right, a single penny that has shocked collectors and numismatists alike by reaching a staggering valuation of $8 million, and we're going to unravel the entire story behind how a coin with a face value of just 1 cent became one of the most valuable and coveted collector's items in the world, with all the intricate errors, unbelievable minting mistakes, and unique historical quirks that elevated this humble piece of copper or zinc to a level far beyond what anyone would ever expect. And to begin with, let's set the stage and paint the bigger picture, because when it comes to coin collecting, it's not just age or rarity that determines value but often a fascinating combination of production anomalies, minting defects, off-metal strikes, planchet irregularities, and most importantly provenance and survival rate. And this $8 million penny is a perfect storm of all those rare and compelling elements coming together in the form of a nearly mythical coin that has sparked debates, investigations, expert analyses, and a surge of interest among collectors who now scrutinize every penny in hopes of finding their own golden, or in this case copper, ticket. And while we've all glanced at a penny or two in our lives and perhaps tossed them into jars, vending trays, or even on the sidewalk, the idea that one such coin could be worth more than a luxury mansion or private island might seem absurd at first. But the truth lies in the story of what went wrong during the coin's production, and that's where the intrigue begins, because coin errors are like nature's little miracles in the minting world, accidental anomalies that occur due to human oversight, machine malfunction, or transitional periods between different coin designs and materials. And in the case of this legendary 1-cent coin, several layers of rare mistakes aligned almost impossibly, which created a true unicorn in the coin collecting universe. And among the primary factors that make this penny so valuable is the infamous 1943 copper cent, a mistake that was never supposed to happen, because during World War II, the U.S. Mint was under intense pressure to conserve copper for military use, particularly for shell casings and electrical components, and so in 1943, the Mint made a nationwide change by producing pennies out of zinc-coated steel rather than the traditional copper, and millions of these steel cents were made that year, resulting in a distinctly different color and texture. But here's where the twist begins, because despite the change, a few blank copper planchets from 1942 somehow remained in the machinery at the Philadelphia, San Francisco, and Denver mints, and when production began in 1943 using steel planchets, these leftover copper blanks were unintentionally struck with the 1943 Lincoln cent design, creating what is now one of the most infamous mint errors in U.S. history. And what's even more astonishing is that these copper 1943 cents look nearly identical to their 1942 predecessors unless you're paying close attention to the date, so they managed to slip into circulation unnoticed, and for decades, these coins were the stuff of legend, with only a handful known to exist and authenticated by experts. And in the world of numismatics, such an error is beyond rare, because not only was it the result of transitional oversight, but it also reflects a moment in history where the mint's priorities were dictated by war and urgency, which means that even the existence of these coins defies logic and planning, and that's exactly why they command such astronomical prices today. But it gets even more intriguing, because not all 1943 copper cents are equal in value. Those struck in Philadelphia are rare enough, but the ones from the Denver Mint, identified by a small D mint mark under the date, are even rarer, with only a single confirmed example, making it a true holy grail in the collecting community. And that one Denver 1943 copper cent sold at auction for a record-breaking sum close to $2 million at the time, and estimates suggest that if it were to resell in today's competitive collecting climate, especially with inflation and global interest in rare U.S. coins, it could fetch upwards of $8 million or more. And experts have cited the coin's pristine condition, clear die strike, and historically significant anomaly as key factors pushing its value higher than ever imagined for a penny. And the beauty of this story is how a simple production error combined with historical context and ultra-low survivability results in something that becomes far more than currency. It becomes a piece of Americana, a snapshot of the era's manufacturing pressures, and a genuine treasure to whoever is lucky enough to possess it. And let's not forget the wild stories of discovery that come with coins like this, because in some cases these valuable pennies were found in change jars, at estate sales, or even misidentified in old collections. And one of the most famous tales involves a schoolboy who reportedly found a 1943 copper penny in his lunch money and held onto it for years before realizing its worth, setting off a frenzy of interest and searches among casual collectors and professional appraisers alike. And as word spread, many people began testing their own 1943 cents with magnets, because the steel versions are magnetic, while the rare copper ones are not. And this single characteristic helped identify potential candidates for further authentication, though many were fakes or altered coins made by fraudsters who tried to alter 1948 pennies by trimming part of the 8 to resemble a 3, or by plating steel pennies to look copper-colored, which is why authentication by professionals using weight measurements, metallurgical tests, and microscopic analysis became essential in determining the true value of a 1943 copper cent. And going deeper into the minting mistakes that could create such value, we encounter doubled dies where the design appears doubled due to a misalignment during the hubbing process, off-center strikes where the design is visibly skewed due to misfed planchets, clipped planchets which result in crescent-shaped missing pieces of the coin, and even broad strikes that happen when a coin is struck without the restraining collar, all of which are valuable to collectors, especially when combined with other factors like rarity, demand, and historical significance. But returning to the $8 million penny, it is the culmination of multiple rare factors converging in a single specimen: the wrong planchet used in a transitional year, the mint mark indicating a branch with extremely limited production errors, and a condition that is virtually uncirculated, along with the backstory of discovery and the verification process that authenticated its uniqueness, all adding layers of appeal that money can't replicate and rarity can't duplicate. And as coin collecting continues to grow in popularity with younger generations discovering the thrill of hunting for hidden gems, stories like the $8 million penny fuel the imagination and validate the effort of digging through coin rolls, checking Grandpa's old cigar box full of change, or browsing antique shops for overlooked pieces of history. Because lightning can strike, and for some lucky collector, it already has. And what makes this phenomenon even more compelling is the possibility that other unknown examples might still be out there hiding in private collections, dusty drawers, or forgotten boxes, just waiting to be rediscovered. And if one of those lands in the right hands with the knowledge and patience to get it authenticated, it could change someone's life overnight. And so, as we wrap up this deep dive into one of the most astonishing coin stories of all time, let this be a reminder that sometimes the smallest things carry the biggest surprises, and that history, mistakes, and curiosity can combine to turn a penny into a priceless relic. So keep your eyes open, your magnets ready, and your curiosity alive, because who knows, the next $8 million coin might be just 1 cent away. And speaking of astonishing coin values that boggle the mind, let's now turn our attention to another remarkable penny that has created waves in the numismatic world. Yes, we're talking about the 2009 1-cent coin, which, under a very specific set of circumstances, has reached a jaw-dropping value of $6 million. And while it may sound completely unbelievable that a coin minted in the modern era, during the 21st century no less, could ever be worth that kind of money, the truth behind this coin's astronomical price tag lies once again in the powerful combination of ultra-rare minting errors, historical relevance, unique variations, and an incredibly small number of surviving specimens. And to fully appreciate why this particular 2009 cent holds such immense value, we have to take a closer look at the context of its release, the design decisions made by the U.S. Mint that year, and the rare and virtually unknown error that took place under very particular conditions. So first, let's establish some important background. The year 2009 marked the bicentennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth and the 100th anniversary of the Lincoln cent itself, and to honor this historic milestone, the U.S. Mint embarked on a special commemorative program which involved issuing 4 different reverse designs on the Lincoln cent, each one representing a major stage in Lincoln's life. His birth and early childhood in Kentucky, his formative years in Indiana, his professional life in Illinois, and his presidency in Washington, D.C., and these designs were not only artistically distinct but also historically significant, and collectors were excited to see these changes play out throughout the year, making 2009 one of the most anticipated years for the humble penny in decades. And while millions of these commemorative pennies were struck for circulation in copper-plated zinc as usual, the Mint also authorized a limited run of special collector versions struck in a bronze composition, 95% copper, 5% tin and zinc, similar to the original Lincoln cents from 1909, and it is among these collector strikes that something incredible happened, something that elevates one specific 2009 Lincoln cent from interesting to inconceivably rare and valuable, because during the minting process of one of these bronze collector coins, a major and completely undocumented die error occurred, producing what experts believe to be a one-of-a-kind specimen. And what makes this particular error so compelling is that it went undetected at the mint and entered the collector market not through official channels but via a private sale, and by the time numismatists got wind of its existence, it had already become a mystery and a legend wrapped into one. So what exactly went wrong with this coin to make it so valuable? Well, according to expert analysis and metallurgical testing, the coin in question exhibits multiple simultaneous anomalies, beginning with an off-metal strike, meaning it was struck on a planchet intended for a completely different denomination, believed to be a foreign coin planchet, possibly from a batch intended for another country's coinage that was struck at the U.S. Mint under contract, and the composition, weight, and diameter do not conform to any U.S. coin standards, giving it an incredibly unique physical profile. But that's just the beginning, because the coin also exhibits a double die error, particularly noticeable on the reverse where the architectural details of the design show ghost-like doubling under magnification, particularly around the windows and columns. And to make things even more spectacular, the strike is perfectly centered and the surfaces of the coin are virtually pristine, showing an exceptionally high level of detail which suggests it was likely one of the first strikes off the die before the error was noticed, or rather, before it slipped past unnoticed altogether. And unlike mass-produced coins where even errors are replicated in dozens or hundreds of examples, this coin has been confirmed by leading grading agencies as a true one-of-one, a lone survivor of a freak occurrence where a unique blend of metal, pressure, and design alignment collided in a moment of mechanical coincidence to produce what can only be described as a fluke of perfection. And it is this perfect imperfection that has captured the imaginations and checkbooks of elite collectors around the world, with the coin changing hands through private auctions, high-end dealers, and international showcases, eventually reaching a record valuation of $6 million, and some experts speculate that this value could climb even higher as the appetite for ultra-rare numismatic treasures continues to grow, fueled by global demand, investment interest, and the digital age's ability to rapidly share and verify information about these rarities. And while the average 2009 Lincoln cent is still commonly found in circulation and only worth face value or a modest premium if in mint condition, this singular specimen is in a league of its own, and it demonstrates with overwhelming clarity how one mistake in the minting process, one misfeed, one misidentified planchet, one unnoticed hubbing misalignment, can result in a completely unique artifact of American coinage history. And part of what adds to the mystique of this coin is how modern it is, because typically, collectors associate high-value coins with ancient or colonial eras, yet here we have a piece minted during the presidency of Barack Obama, still within recent memory, whose value surpasses that of many gold coins, luxury vehicles, and even homes, and that just goes to show the unpredictable nature of coin collecting and the incredible value that can be hidden in modern change, and much like the 1943 copper cent before it, this 2009 era coin has become the subject of much speculation, with some believing that additional examples may exist but have not yet been identified or authenticated, while others are confident that the coin is truly unique and that its $6 million valuation is not only justified but potentially conservative given its one-of-a-kind status, perfect condition, and historical significance. And what further fuels interest in this particular cent is the ongoing debate over whether the error was a true accident or the result of a mint employee's deliberate actions, which, if proven true, could introduce new legal and ethical dimensions to its ownership and marketability, though at this point, no credible evidence has emerged to suggest foul play, and the consensus among the numismatic elite is that this is a legitimate, albeit extraordinary, minting anomaly that simply defied detection until it reached the hands of someone who recognized its value, and for aspiring collectors and everyday enthusiasts. This story serves as a powerful reminder that even the most modern and mundane-looking coins should not be dismissed without scrutiny, because buried in pocket change, sealed mint sets, or forgotten envelopes may be the next million-dollar treasure just waiting for someone with a sharp eye, a little luck, and a deep appreciation for the wonders of minting errors to uncover them. And as we continue to explore the endlessly fascinating stories of coinage and how error, rarity, and history combine to create value beyond imagination, let the tale of the $6 million 2009 Lincoln cent inspire you to dig a little deeper, look a little closer, and never underestimate the power of the penny. And just when you thought the stories couldn't get any more unbelievable, let us guide you into the next chapter of this extraordinary coin saga with a coin that continues to astonish even the most seasoned collectors, the 2010 1 cent coin, struck at the Denver Mint. A modern coin by all appearances, but one that has managed to carve out a place in numismatic legend due to an extraordinarily rare and mysterious error, leading to its valuation at a breathtaking $4 million. And while this coin might look like just another Lincoln shield cent to the casual observer, it is anything but ordinary, and its story is a fascinating example of how precision systems, even in our technologically advanced times, can still produce once-in-a-lifetime anomalies that shock the entire community and redefine what modern-era coins can be worth. So to understand what makes this 2010 penny so valuable, we must first take a step back to recognize the historical shift in design that occurred just 1 year prior, because in 2009, the Lincoln cent underwent a commemorative redesign with 4 special reverse images depicting stages of Abraham Lincoln's life. But in 2010, the U.S. Mint officially replaced the long-standing Lincoln Memorial reverse with a completely new shield design symbolizing Lincoln's preservation of the United States as a single, united country during the Civil War. And this change marked one of the most significant redesigns in recent penny history, and while millions of these new shield cents were minted in 2010, both at Philadelphia and Denver, a tiny fraction of the Denver minted coins suffered from an error so rare and so confusing that numismatists spent months analyzing, testing, and debating what had gone wrong. And in the case of this ultra-rare 2010 penny valued at $4 million, the error is multifaceted and nearly impossible to replicate, making the coin a standout among standouts. And what sets it apart first is that it was struck on the wrong planchet, specifically a transitional leftover that appears to be composed of an experimental alloy not intended for circulation, believed by metallurgists to be a manganese-brass composite potentially developed for foreign coinage or a test batch never meant to reach the main production floor. And this alloy gives the coin a noticeably different coloration and slightly different weight. Subtle enough that it could have slipped by undetected if not for its second, even more unusual flaw, a dramatic die clash that occurred before the planchet was inserted, leaving behind deep ghost-like impressions of the obverse and reverse designs overlapping each other in a way that creates an almost holographic illusion under certain lighting, with Lincoln's portrait eerily visible across the shield in distorted relief. And as if that weren't enough, the coin also exhibits a spectacular off-center strike, with the date and mint mark partially drifting toward the rim in a way that still retains all critical identifying elements but amplifies the drama and visual appeal of the error. And these 3 elements, off-metal composition, severe die clash, and off-center strike, all appearing together on one coin, make it an unmatched anomaly in the post-2000 numismatic landscape. But what truly cemented its value was its pristine condition. Discovered within a sealed 2010 U.S. Mint uncirculated set, untouched and uncirculated, graded by top-tier grading agencies at MS68+ with full luster, and because the coin passed through official mint packaging and had a known provenance dating back to its release, there is zero doubt about its authenticity, which is one of the most important aspects for coins of this magnitude, and what followed was a frenzy of speculation as word of the coin spread through collecting forums, auction houses, and news outlets, with some initial skepticism giving way to awe as more experts weighed in and confirmed that this was not only a real error but likely a once-in-history example, a conclusion that drove its valuation through the roof, and after a high-stakes private auction involving multiple international bidders, the coin eventually sold for just over $4 million, a price that stunned even the most optimistic experts and ignited a renewed wave of interest in modern pennies, particularly those from the first year of the shield design, with collectors scouring their 2010 rolls, mint sets, and forgotten change jars in hopes of finding something similar, though to date, no identical specimen has surfaced, reinforcing the theory that the conditions that produced this coin were singular and unlikely to ever be repeated, and some have speculated that it may have resulted from an experimental test strike that accidentally entered the main production flow during a shift change or equipment recalibration at the Denver Mint. A theory that remains unconfirmed due to the Mint's silence on the matter, but regardless of how it happened, the fact remains that this coin now holds a legendary status among modern cents, a symbol of how even the newest and most technologically precise minting systems can still create errors so spectacular that they transcend face value, year, or composition to become numismatic royalty. And for collectors, the 2010 D-Shield cent represents a thrilling possibility that the next major treasure may not be 50, 100, or 200 years old, but sitting in a roll from just a decade or so ago. And it proves once again that the value of a coin is never just about its metal or its date, but about the unrepeatable story it tells through its flaws, its survival, and the incredible journey it takes from the press to the collector. And so whether you're a seasoned numismatist with a vault of graded rarities or a casual enthusiast curious about the pennies jingling in your pocket, the tale of the $4 million 2010 D penny should inspire you to look a little closer, search a little longer, and appreciate that even in the most unlikely year, in the most unassuming mint, miracles still happen in copper, brass, and zinc. And now, as we continue down this remarkable trail of modern pennies transforming into multimillion-dollar artifacts, we come to yet another unexpected champion of the numismatic world, the legendary 2012 1-cent coin, a coin that on the surface appears utterly ordinary, indistinguishable from the billions of others minted that year, and yet under the perfect storm of rare minting errors, metallurgical curiosity, and numismatic scrutiny, this particular 2012 penny has been authenticated, examined, and eventually sold for an astonishing $2 million, placing it squarely among the upper echelons of modern coin rarities. And to truly understand why a coin minted just over a decade ago can carry such a staggering value, we need to dissect the specific circumstances that led to this coin's creation, discovery, and eventual fame. So let's begin by revisiting the year itself, because 2012, by all public accounts, was a standard production year for the Lincoln Shield cent, which had already been introduced 2 years earlier and was being struck at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints in typical quantities, meaning billions of coins were produced using the standard copper-plated zinc composition. But among these billions, a rare anomaly occurred, a one-of-a-kind specimen that became the holy grail for collectors focused on modern mint errors, and it all began with what seemed like a routine error. A coin struck on the wrong planchet, but as collectors and experts began examining the coin, they quickly realized this wasn't just any off-metal error, this was something far more unusual, because instead of being struck on a foreign coin blank, or a blank meant for another U.S. denomination, this 2012 penny had been struck on a planchet made of solid aluminum, a composition not seen in official U.S. coinage since experimental trials in the 1970s. And after extensive testing by metallurgical laboratories and verification by the top numismatic grading agencies, it was confirmed that the coin's composition was approximately 92% aluminum and 8% trace elements, matching no official production records for 2012 cents or any publicized mint experiment from that time, which led to an avalanche of questions, speculation, and intrigue in the collecting community, with theories ranging from accidental inclusion of a foreign contract planchet to rogue experimental strikes within the mint, to leftover blanks from long-abandoned internal projects that somehow made their way into the Lincoln cent production line. And what pushed this already extraordinary error into the realm of the $1 Million Club was the pristine quality of the strike and its virtually flawless condition, graded at MS-69 by leading authorities, with a full, clean strike, rich detail across both obverse and reverse, and a subtle but distinct silvery sheen that immediately sets it apart from the standard red or brown finishes of its zinc-based siblings. And to make matters even more compelling, the coin features sharp die polishing lines, perfectly centered strike, and absolutely no signs of post-mint damage or tampering, making it not only an extreme rarity but also an immaculate example of minting precision gone wrong. And of course, as is often the case with such finds, the origin story of the coin's discovery is just as fascinating as the coin itself, with the lucky individual stumbling upon it not in a rare coin show or through a dealer's vault, but in a bag of circulated cents obtained from a local bank, and noticing the strange coloration and lighter weight, the finder took it to a local coin shop, where the suspicion of an off-metal error was first raised, triggering a months-long journey through certification, X-ray fluorescence testing, and expert validation that culminated in the coin being offered at a high-end numismatic auction where intense bidding drove the price sky-high, ultimately landing it at a final sale value of $2 million. To a private collector whose stated goal was to own the most significant U.S. minting errors of the 21st century. And what makes this coin even more iconic is that, to date, no other known 2012 aluminum cent has been found or certified, making it a presumed unique specimen. And in the world of coin collecting, uniqueness is the ultimate multiplier of value. And so here we have a modern-day anomaly that not only defies the odds of discovery, but also exemplifies the notion that even in tightly controlled, digitally monitored modern mint environments, errors of stunning significance can still slip through the cracks, survive circulation, and become million-dollar marvels. And beyond the composition itself, the coin's timing plays a role in its historical appeal, as 2012 was a transitional year for U.S. currency discussions, with growing debate about the future of the penny itself. As production costs continued to exceed face value, and legislators debated whether the cent should be phased out, meaning this aluminum specimen could also be viewed as a coincidental echo of earlier efforts to explore cheaper materials, linking it historically to the past while simultaneously standing as a bizarre outlier of modern minting. And when all of these factors are taken into account, the exotic and unexplained composition, the near-perfect condition, the detailed and crisp strike, the total lack of other known examples, and the timing within a politically and economically transitional context, it becomes clear why this 2012 aluminum cent commands such a high valuation, and it also explains why collectors around the world, from hobbyists to institutional investors, continue to hunt for era coins in even the most recent of mintages, because stories like this prove that you don't need to go back to colonial America or ancient Rome to find treasure. Sometimes it's waiting for you in a bag of loose change, a roll from the bank, or even under your couch cushions. And in this world of numismatic wonder, the 2012 1-cent piece is a beacon of hope and excitement, demonstrating that fortune still favors the curious, the observant, and the persistent. And as long as coins are being minted, there remains the thrilling possibility that the next multimillion-dollar mistake is already out there, just waiting to be found by someone who's willing to take a second look at what others might ignore.